Good day, viewers and listeners, and welcome to this special program where we'll be discussing some of the slew of measures instituted to cushion the effects of the rising cost of living, including the increase in public servants' salaries. I'm your host, Godfrey Brooms, and with me in studio is the Minister within the Ministry of Housing and Water, the Honorable Susan Rodrigues. Minister, thank you for coming here, and it's always a joy having you speak with me and the people of Guyana.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Art Minister, we'll start with the recent announcement by the Senior Minister in the Office of the President with responsibility for finance, Dr. Ashley Singh, who only yesterday announced a 6.5 salary increase for public servants. How do you anticipate this will benefit the country overall?
So, allow me, first of all, to express my deepest sympathies to the family of the five fallen servicemen who lost their lives in that tragic accident, and to wish the two survivors a speedy recovery. That having been said, we're in the month of December. Christmas is approaching, and this is usually a very happy time for our country and all around the world. We're in the season of Christmas, and public servants in Guyana knows that when the People's Progressive Party civic government is in office, they can look forward to a salary increase at the end of the year. This latest salary increase represents the third such increase since we've been in office from 2020. We had a 7% increase, followed by an 8% increase, and then a further increase this year by 6.5%, which is a total of 21.5% increase in wages and salaries in the last 3 years. So that is a significant improvement. But the salary increase cannot be viewed in isolation of all of the other measures, programs, projects, policies, etc., that the government has implemented in the last 3 years. We have a very comprehensive manifesto with which we came into government with in 2020, most of which are aimed at improving the overall lives and well-being of our people. And the salary increase is just one measure that will help to improve people's lives and to have a meaningful effect on their livelihood. So, significantly as well in the announcement, the Minister Singh's announcement, is the continuation of the 1 month tax-free bonus for our discipline services, and we know that they look forward to that, and they can look forward to that again this year, tax-free bonus. And also significantly this year we included the civilian members of the GDF who will also benefit from this 1 month tax-free bonus. So we're capturing a large number of people in this salary increase and in the safety net, and also in the 1 month tax-free bonus. But in addition to that as well, because like I said, it cannot be viewed in isolation of all of the other measures. So when you're looking at salary increases, we also had a number of salary adjustments
Yes.
that were made starting, I believe, earlier this year with employees in the healthcare sector, benefiting about 5,000 people there who had their salaries adjusted to comparable positions across the public sector. Similarly, the servicemen and women in uniform, the salaries of about 9,000 people were adjusted. And also teachers, more recently, teachers had their salaries adjusted as well. Those graduate teachers who have a degree from the University of Guyana or under the Gold Scholarship Program. So those who have a degree would see their salaries now adjusted to the maximum of the scale in the position for which they now hold. And that has been very, very significant. In the healthcare sector, I recall when I was listening as well to the announcements, Some people had their salaries doubled
Yes.
in the adjustment that the president announced earlier this year. I think it was in January. So that will also have a very significant impact on the lives of our public servants. And thinking about the healthcare sector as well, and knowing that we just recently came out of a global pandemic, I think it was very fitting of the president and the government to see that this adjustment was done for our healthcare workers, to show our gratitude and to let them know that we appreciate their service in the public sector.
Yes, Minister, and added to what you were just saying, it's 4,000 teachers that will benefit from approximately $1 billion increase every year. Minister, let's take the bull by its horns. In 2021, there was a 7% increase, as you rightfully said. In 2022, an 8% increase. And many persons were feeling as though government is going to announce a larger increase than the following 2 years. Nevertheless, a 6.5% increase is given. This will impact the spending power of many persons across the country. What would you say to the naysayers that are saying 6.5% is too small of an amount to give to public servants, considering the fiscal capacity of our country?
So I would never say to people, especially public servants, that now that I'm in the public sector, I have a greater appreciation for public service and for public servants. Because as you well know, Godfrey, in my ministry, housing and water, we have a very tall mandate. And the only way that we have been able to roll out this very robust housing program is through late nights, weekends, holidays, at which you can find public servants at their desks in the ministry or in the field preparing for Dream Realize activity, where people have received close to 30,000 house lots now in the last 3 years. You see people in the healthcare sector across the country giving of their best late nights, our doctors, our nurses, and similarly teachers who showed up during the pandemic and taught students so that no child was deprived of an education. And I could never say to them that this is enough. That's the fact. Nothing would be enough, because their service is so invaluable to our country and our people. Public servants can never be compensated adequately because they always go above and beyond. And I think probably that's why it's called a public service, because you really give your life, your time, your all. And in many instances, you have to truly love your profession to be able to continue serving even in challenging times, whether it's a pandemic or whether you're going through your own struggles at home. You show up for work and you serve the public, who sometimes can be aggressive, and you have those days at work. Look, we would love to give more and to keep giving more and more all of the time. And I know that we will continue to do that. But I think the public can look at our government and see that, one, the government is trying, and two, that you have a government that you can trust. Because people can look at all that we have done in the last 3 years, and they can safely say, if they're being honest with themselves, that every measure that the president or the government has implemented, you see that there was a promise, there was a public commitment, and then an implementation. So you know that you have people in office and you have a president that you can trust and that is committed to getting this work done. Now, every year around budget time, we have to prioritize. Every year. We have to balance our infrastructure program. We have to balance it with providing education to our children. We have to balance it with spending in the healthcare sector, and of course taking care of our public servants. You have to spend on housing, water, all of these things. And we can go into some of what is happening in these various sectors a little bit later on in the interview. But looking at it in a broader way now, people, public servants, are the bedrock of our society, and we deeply appreciate the work that they do. And I see some members of the opposition. I saw a statement from the APNU coalition who have come out and said that the 6.5% is not enough, and it's a slap in the face, and so on. But this is coming from a group of people that were in government not so long ago, merely 3 years ago, who took away many of the things that we are talking about here. So I can sit here and talk about so many initiatives outside of salary increases that we have done, including in all of these sectors: education, healthcare, housing, water, scholarships, all of it, that we can have a conversation about how all of these programs help to improve the lives and well-being of our people. But you have a group of people who are saying this is not enough, as though this is all you can do for public servants. Now, that's not all we are doing. This is one measure. But these same public servants have children in school who are benefiting from the Because We Care cash grant. These same public servants have their parents or pensioners in their homes who benefit from the water subsidy, who've benefited from a 60% increase, I believe, over the last 3 years in old age pension. You may yourself have acquired a scholarship through the Gold program, which is absolutely free, which you do not have to pay for. So you were given 15% salary increase. That was an additional expenditure you would have had that you do not have now. We also promised to make University of Ghana education free before 2025, and that will be done. It will definitely be done, and that's why I'm saying that you have a government in office that when we make these commitments and you see the size of our social safety net, which goes far beyond what you and I are discussing now, and I'd be happy to explore some of the other measures as we continue this conversation. But I'm trying to also answer your question in a poignant way. So all of these other measures that help to increase disposable income, and also, more importantly, to improve the lives of our people.
And I'm glad that you mentioned some of these other things, Minister, because the farmers would have benefited from $1 billion in the supply of fertilizers. You rightfully said old age pensioners benefited from the replacement of the subsidy on electricity as well as water. Persons with disabilities got a cash grant, and they will be receiving a $35,000 cash grant. The Because We Care cash grant has been restored, and there's a slew of other measures that have been implemented. Can you describe the overall impact this is having on the economy?
So I like to do it in this way, and I say to people that in every household, I can safely say that in every household across our country, there is either one member or multiple members of that household that are benefiting directly from one or more initiatives of the government. So if you're a farmer, you can benefit from, as you just mentioned, and this is just in the last 3 years and as a response to COVID and increase in fuel prices and so on. Free fertilizer. There have been cash grants in the in that sector, sugar workers, the fisher
Fisher
folk.
folks.
Many households have children who are benefiting from that cash grant, from improved educational services as well, from training of our teachers. When we train teachers, we benefit our education system. We benefit the children. There may be one or multiple persons in a household that have received a gold scholarship. And by the way, gold has distributed, I believe, over 20,000
Yes.
scholarships, which was the target. The 20,000 was the target for 5 years. We have exceeded that. I think it's about 21,000 or
Yes,
more than that
just over 21,000.
now in 3 years. And we're not stopping. We're not a lazy government that says, this is what we promised and this is all you're going to get. We've gone above and beyond that. And we've said, if you would like a scholarship, apply for it. We're going to ensure that people get scholarships. If you have an interest in becoming a nurse, your training will be free. You will be given a stipend while you are being trained, and you will be guaranteed employment at the end of that training program. There may be a pensioner in your home that's benefiting from the pension and an increase in the pension. There may be somebody with disability. I believe we have given a one-off cash grant recently of $35,000 for persons living with disability. And we've seen many initiatives through the Office of the President, through the First Lady's office, to help persons living with disability. We have removed taxes on essential food items, making it more affordable for people. And what Guyanese also need to know is when you look overseas and what's taking place in our global economy, there was a recent IMF report just a few days ago that came out that said our consumer price index inflationary rate is 1.2%, which is very good compared to what's taking place, say, in the United States, which the rate there is about 3.2%, almost tripling the rate here in Guyana. So we can talk about interest rates. When you look in the housing sector, interest rates being reduced to under 4% for a low-income mortgage. Some institutions 3.5%, some 3.75%. The very low rate, it's never been this low. So people can access financing now so that they can purchase a home through the housing program or even privately. That they can construct a home, access financing for a mortgage or to open a small business. And these are all results of a carefully managed economy. If the economy was not responsibly managed in the way that we are managing it, you would not have seen these positive effects taking place. We just came out of the COVID-19 pandemic, and some countries are still recovering from the effects that COVID has had on their economy. Like, for example, countries that have depended on tourism as one of their main contributors to GDP. We don't have that problem here. Our economy is diversified enough that we can have multiple sectors that are functioning to ensure that our GDP remains high, and especially in the oil and gas sector. And the same IMF report spoke about how Guyana's economy has tripled from the end of 2019 when we started oil production. And that is also how we are able to increase our spending across all of these sectors with a view to improve lives. That is the objective. When we spend money on the highway, and I know that this is a criticism too, people talk about the roads. Well, the roads don't put food on the table. But some of these roads, especially farm to market roads, literally brings food from the farm to the market so that it can become more affordable for people to purchase their essential items. And the highways that we are constructing and all the other roads that are opening new lands for housing, new lands for commercial activity, industrial activities that employ people. People get employed in every stage of this transformation that is taking place. And which, by the way, our job numbers are excellent. because we also promised to create 50,000 jobs, for which we have done already in less than 5 years. So all of these people who were not working under the coalition government and were not receiving the benefits that they are now receiving when the coalition, the APNUAFC coalition was in office, when they removed some of these things unconscionably, like the education cash grant, the Because We Care, putting VAT on electricity and water, removing the subsidy from pensioners, putting on 200 new taxes, even taxed education at one point. Those people were not benefiting. The same people that they are making a pitch to now that we will do more for you. How can those same people trust anything that the APNU AFC says that they will do when we had a first-hand experience of what they did when they were in office just a short time ago? So people have to take some of the rhetoric with a pinch of salt, and we have to really sit down sometimes and understand the context with which we are living now. We also have the border controversy that we have to balance, and we have to now consider, do we need to expend more resources there to protect our borders? We did say, and we said to the public, that we will do everything that we have to do to defend our country, whatever effort or measure we need to take. So that is also a real consideration. But in the context of what's happening globally, Godfrey, and in the context of all that is happening here, outside of salary increases per se, I think Guyanese are in a much better position today than they were just 3 years ago, and we are now starting. We are at the tip of the iceberg now. We are going to increase production next year and the year after that. Oil production, that is, by the time we get to 2026 or 2027, will be up to 1 million barrels of oil a day, where all of these things that we are talking about will increase and expand. There are more programs that can be implemented then. Salaries can go up also more significantly then. But we also have to, like I said, balance it with what's happening globally, because some experts, financial experts, have predicted that the demand for oil may fall next year or the year after that. So that is something that we have to consciously think about. A salary increase is not a one-off thing. It's every month you have to find this amount of money for public servants across the board. And we're talking about, you may have the number, 54,000 public servants, I think, in the public sector. So this is a recurrent expenditure that we have to assure the people that we can do every single month for them. So it's always a tough decision to make. It's a very, very tough decision to make. And we would always welcome the opportunity to do more. And I promise people that we will be able to do more going forward, and not just do one thing, but multiple things that will see an improvement in their lives.
I'm going to say you have skillfully brought it all together, all of the plans, the projects, the increases, the grants, everything, and align it with government's overall vision of creating a better life for Guyanese, essentially. Is there anything else you'd like to add towards that, Minister?
So I just want to take this opportunity to remind people, of course, as we just did, bringing all of what government is doing, all of the projects, all of the policies, all of the measures, and help people to see that the overall objective is to improve lives. We have in our program across the government one of the largest social safety nets. When I look at countries in the Caribbean and even further afield on what they offer to the citizens of their country in terms of social security, it's nothing compared to what we have here. When I speak to diplomats and foreign investors and people from multilateral agencies and organizations globally, they are always so intrigued and amazed by the housing program, which that in in and of itself has such a tremendous ability through the subsidy in the housing program, an amazing ability to transform people's lives. It opens up a whole new world for them that they didn't have before, and a world of opportunity. Being able to move from a rented home to uh, becoming a landowner, and then utilizing one of the programs that we have, whether it's our housing construction program or whether you are doing it on your own, but taking advantage of measures such as the low interest rates or measures such as the mortgage interest relief, which is a deductible on your income tax return at the end of the year. And I feel like we don't talk about this particular measure enough, but it has a very, very significant impact on people, and people need to utilize it more. So it's a deductible at the end of the year. All of the interest that you paid on your mortgage loan, you get to claim it back at the end of the year on your income tax returns. So many measures that people now have access to that they didn't have before, that can open up all of these opportunities for them. They can become a homeowner. They now have real collateral that they can get a mortgage, or they can use that building and that land for a commercial loan to open a small business. You get the opportunity to raise your children in an environment that you've created, meaning it's your home. You control what takes place in your home. We help families to live in wholesome, sustainable communities where people can really get a chance to enjoy where they live, and the quality of life that they can provide for their children, as opposed to renting or living by a relative. And all of these children are enjoying free education and then free university education very soon from now. So we can go on for hours about how all of this is, as you said, can comes together into one big social safety net that we have here in Guyana, and it will only get better as we ramp up production, as we expand all of the other sectors, the agriculture sector, all of the non-oil sectors, and we improve in our non-oil economy. We will see the best days in our lives. I firmly believe that the best days for Guyana are still ahead of us.
Minister, I thank you very much for deconstructing all of these measures so that the laymen can understand exactly what is being done in the country. And I thank you for coming here and saying all of these wonderful things and explaining them to the public.
Sure, thank you.
That's it. You've had it from the Minister within the Ministry of Housing and Water, Susan Rodrigues. I've been your host, Godfrey Brooms. Do join us again next time.